I read recently that President Obama wants to increase community college spots by 2 million. I wondered why. So I've invited Pat Hennessey, Director of College Relations, and Ruben Barato, Director of Counseling at Westchester Community College, to join me for a conversation about one of our region's most valuable and most misunderstood resources. The college has just opened its $40 million Gateway Center, which, quoting Associate Dean Terry Wiesel, aims to integrate students into society, provide them with the tools necessary to increase their earnings, and allow them to become stronger contributors to their communities and to the U.S. economy. WCC has over 13,000 credit students and 13,000 continuing education students. It's the first step in higher education for some 10 to 11% of Westchester High School grads. And it provides a source of inspiration and education for mature adults as well. I want to know more about WCC with a particular focus on how it serves the growing immigrant population that must be educated and integrated into our society. I'm Alice Bloom. This is A Town and Village Too. Welcome, and welcome Pat and Ruben. Thank you so much for being my guest. Now, WCC has opened this amazing new center, your Gateway Center, and it provides resources for all students, but specifically for the immigrant students. Am I saying that correctly?
Well, Gateway is really for everybody. It's a new building, a $40 million building.
So I've been told.
A beautiful building designed by INEAD Architects. And one of the nice things about it is it's the first county-owned green building. So it's LEED certified. And that's one of the nice things about it in terms of the outside. But the stuff that happens inside,
that's what we're interested in.
It's really exciting. We have mentoring programs, we have a film series, and it really is for everyone. It's for the immigrant community, it's for our traditional students, the students who come at night for continuing ed classes. We really are a little bit cramped over there in Valhalla, so we needed another building. We opened this up, and it's helping us. We have more classes and more services.
Now, when you say you're cramped, Valhalla has a wonderful campus.
It's a big campus. It's 218 acres, lots of buildings, but lots of students. As you mentioned in your intro, 13,000 credit students, 13,000 non-credit. That number's climbing closer to 14,000, 15,000 if you really look at it. So we have a lot that we do in Valhalla, but we're also opening the other extension centers. We have extension centers all over the county because we're just getting really huge.
Okay. Let's talk more about what really is going on in that Gateway Center. Ruben, you were in charge of international students previously, and now you're director of all of counseling. Big job. How do you handle it for that many students?
Well, it's very challenging, but again, most of the resources are open for everyone. What we try to do is accommodate for certain needs that some of the immigrant population have.
And what are those needs?
So, for example, because we get varying community members that have different needs. So, for example, you might get someone who's coming back who has already studied in their country, is in the U.S., and would like to know what they can do with their credentials. So we provide credential evaluation for some of them. In that particular building, it's a very huge ELI program, ESL courses, for a lot of our residents that come in. And then in terms of the international, that was a part of my job that I did for 13 years. Primarily, we worked on students that wanted to come in to study with visas, but oftentimes students came in that had questions that had other type of documentation. So we do our very best to try to help them out. And then we do referrals for them if they needed some legal assistance or questions that were really, really beyond what we should be doing. So we've tried to extend as much as we can to help that population.
Now, New York State has a different posture towards undocumented students than some other states do. What's the stance of New York State regarding a student who doesn't have all of his or her papers in order?
Now, New York State was one of the pioneer states with regards to students who don't have documentation. For years, there really was no policy throughout the country. California and Texas were really the first to, and then New York followed along. And in 2002, Governor Pataki signed a bill that permitted students who attended primary school and graduated from high school to be able to attend any public institution in the state and receive in-state tuition. So it's been a state initiative. It's been going since then, and it's benefited a lot of students who have come along, done a degree, moved on, and gone to four-year colleges.
May undocumented students apply for financial aid?
Unfortunately, the undocumented students cannot apply for financial aid. Up to this point, they're not eligible for any type of federal or state assistance for any of their education.
You know, when you describe the Gateway Foundation, Gateway Center, I think that's the appropriate term, it reminds me of what I used to read about settlement houses on the Lower East Side when there were huge waves of immigrants coming to this country. Do you think that's a realistic comparison?
Well, you know, the Gateway Center is really, as we say, for everyone, but one of the things that we constructed this building for was to make sure that people came in, learned English. We have thousands of students who study English as a second language, but also work with the rest of the population, those who are in the business programs, those who take advantage of the Conversation Partners program, the volunteer programs, what have you. So a lot of people really stream through there, although the intent is really to have resources for those who are new to America, new citizens, what have you. We also have a lot of the students who've been here for years. Their families are from here, they're U.S. citizens, also taking advantage. So everybody, there's a lot of intermingling, as there is all throughout the institution.
Is there one population of immigrants that's most heavily represented?
Well, we've seen a real increase of the Hispanic population.
Right, the Hispanic population has grown. I mean, I started working at WCC back in '97, and I believe it was about maybe 11% of the population. Now we're over 25% of the student enrollment is Hispanic. And again, that's attributed to a little bit of the immigrant population and just people coming into Westchester County.
I really want some insight into what the challenges are for that population in attaining a higher education and in going out into the workforce. Now, you mentioned before that many of your students are credentialed in their home countries. They often have professions or careers. What kinds of things did they do you see?
You know, it's very interesting. You'd be surprised. Many of our students that have come are professionals. You know, we've had people that are lawyers, doctors, engineers, accountants, and because of language issues, or even just not understanding the whole process here, have remained and entered other professions that are a little bit more manual, blue-collar work. And it isn't now that they're starting to discover the college and learn that, you know, they too maybe can, you know, improve their English and maybe learn how to, to have that particular transcript or credential they have to try to seek whatever, process they need to get a job and use the education they had back in their home country. Now, you mentioned something about, the challenge. The challenge is pretty big because of the range of students. We get a lot of students who are still trying to command the English language for whatever reason. Then there are also cultural issues. A lot of our students, let's say, for example, that are Latino, are first generation, so their parents didn't go to college. So a lot of them are trying to battle their way, learn, because their parents can't provide that information. So a lot of the challenges is just really getting used to the college culture.
Do you find your students, the younger students, have family support in their pursuing their education? Or are they bucking the trend?
Well, it really all depends. We certainly have a lot of people who are coming to college. They're the first people in their family to come to college. And then there are others. There is that mix. There's the dentist that came here from overseas and finds out his credentials don't really work here in the U.S. Of course, he or she wants to send his or her son, daughter, to the school. And then there are other people who grew up with jobs here in the U.S. and many manual labor. The goal is to bring people in at a higher level, and that's part of what Gateway is about. Take those classes, learn English, go on to credit courses. So when you get a class, when you're out of your class and you get into a job and a career, it's a career, it's not a job. You're coming in at a higher level.
Is it really possible for someone to transition from a job, we'll say they were a lawyer or an accountant in another country, and they come here and one of their biggest obstacles is language, and we'll say they're working hard to overcome that. Can they really achieve the credentialing they need to be able to practice their profession here?
It depends on the profession, of course. Something like law or medicine, It is very possible, but it's very difficult. But you know what, though? Sometimes they transition to something that's similar. So, for example, someone who may have been a lawyer in their country may instead do a paralegal program.
Okay.
So while they're working on their English, obtaining their paralegal program, they'll still be able to get into the profession, something that they had a passion for in their country. And then when you're talking about some of the less certified or programs that don't require licenses or certification, absolutely. And in many cases, their credentials are the equivalent. So it's just a matter of learning the English language, preparing their resume, how to conduct an interview. I think some of these things they're not really aware how to do here. And again, it's the English, because a lot of our students are afraid that the English will be seen as a weakness. So that's what really slows them down. So that's why our ELI program is very big. And oftentimes their reluctance to pursue a professional career or do something that's a little bit more advanced is because they're afraid that, well, why am I going to put this effort into this and not be able to find a job because I'm afraid I'm not going to have that part of it down pat.
Do you find that most of your students succeed in achieving good proficiency in English?
It takes some students longer than others, and that's why one of the programs that we have is called Conversation Partners. It's a volunteer program where we actually sit with that person on a voluntary basis and go through the language and informally talk, speak the language, maybe do some writing. Some people pick it up pretty quickly. Others, it takes a while, but there's a whole systematic system for them.
Do you find it harder as people get older to pick up a language? Or is it just an
If
individual
you look at
thing?
studies, they'll tell you that it's always best to learn the language earlier. But you know what? What I've learned is when they immerse themselves, that they really start to practice the language. What happens often to a lot of our immigrants is that they live in communities where everyone speaks their language and they don't get to practice it. That's why the Conversation Partners program is wonderful, because they're paired off with a community volunteer who only speaks English. And so they are forced to practice speaking the language. And again, like I tell many of my students, the only way you're going to learn is to practice, make mistakes, and improve. And I believe that, when you look at our population, English is something that you just keep on learning as you go along. Everyone has different levels. But I would tell you yes, because so many of our students transfer. They finish our college and they move on and successfully transfer the four-year colleges.
And he talks a little bit, Ruben does, about learning English. And there are other sort of forms of literacy that we really get involved with. We have a Center for Financial Education. Now that's for the person who doesn't know how to balance a checkbook, doesn't know how to invest, is not sure how to handle money. And we've found that a lot of new citizens to the U.S. and certainly younger people really benefit from those workshops. It's a different type of literacy.
Are those workshops available on for continuing ed students as well?
Yeah, there's a lot of the stuff that we do is free. For instance, a lot of the Center for Financial Education workshops are free. And in terms of continuing education, it's like two schools. It really is similar to two colleges in one. We've got the 13 to 15,000 credit students and this whole other college of non-credit continuing ed folks who come in, take affordable classes at night in a lot of different areas.
Why do you think so few people in Westchester know about Westchester Community College?
Well, I think those who know about it might not be sure they really know about it. The thing is, it's been here for so long. It's really a part of the fabric of the institution. And there are some folks who really take advantage of a community college. They may, for financial reasons, maybe because of grades, maybe if you're just unsure of what you're going to do next. It's a great college for that person who wants to take 2 years locally, save some money, and move on to a four-year institution. But then again, a lot of the people in Westchester are looking toward four-year universities, and they're looking to get out of the county. So there's a real niche for the people who would come to us. Those seem to know about us. That's why we're the largest college in the county. And then there's others who really would not look at a two-year institution. They're more used to perhaps maybe a traditional college where you would move away from home, you would live away, and that sort of thing.
Well, they have. You told me that some 10-11% of high school grads in Westchester go to Westchester Community College. Now that's pretty smart, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think any other college could claim that many grads from.
No, it's the highest percentage, and I think you're also seeing those who may not be unsure, might not be sure about what they're going to study, may be going to look at a community college because of the dollars and cents. They're certainly coming to us. But we're seeing also more middle income, middle class folks coming to Westchester Community College because of the cost of the four-year institution has gotten so high.
Well, let's talk some numbers here. I mean, we know that tuition at a four-year college can be $50,000 a year now.
Absolutely.
Pretty staggering. What would tuition for a full load at WCC cost?
It's about $4,000 a year, and that's for the person who's a resident of the area. It climbs when you talk about some of the immigrant population, you talk about those who are from outside of the area. But $4,000 a year will get you full-time classes for 2 semesters. It's quite a bargain. The other thing is, a lot of the faculty members who teach at our institution are also teaching at those four-year universities. So in a way, you're saving the money, and because more part-time instructors are teaching at four-year schools and two-year schools, you're saving that money, possibly $30,000, $40,000, and a lot of times they're the same instructors.
So that you're saying the quality of the education is comparable to what you might achieve at a four-year institution. What percentage of students complete, I guess it's called an associate's program, is that correct?
Right.
Complete that and go on to 4 years, a four-year college?
Well, our percentages vary when it has to do with intent, because a lot of the students come to us and they're not really intending to get a degree. They're coming in to take a class or two, maybe to switch over, or they might be coming in to get a credential to move up in another job. So it all depends on what area that you're really looking at in terms of graduating, how long it takes. We also see that more of our students, they don't come in 2 years and finish in 2 years. It might take them 3 years. We have a lot of people who come back after 10, 15 years,
Do you
too.
find a good percentage of your students are also working as well as going to school?
Yes, and I think that's the other part of it. I mean, we have a giant population of adult students and part-time students, so they're not going to graduate in the traditional 2-year period. So, that's another reason that they come in. And again, everyone has a different, working schedule. So oftentimes you'll get students who will, go to school for a few semesters, then stop because, life gets in the way, and then continue.
And you tolerate that, or?
Absolutely. I think it's one of the benefits that our college has. Because
I mean, maybe tolerate, I don't know, I didn't mean to offend you. It's just that it seems to me that most people in four-year schools have to apply for a leave or whatever, and it's hard
Well,
to
it's a
maintain
big
your
part of
focus.
what we do, and we realize we have a lot of returning students.
Yes, and again, that's the nature of the community college is, again, it's to meet the needs of our community, and oftentimes for a lot of our students, it can't be as traditional as a four-year institution where you go in, it's formal, and you're out in 4 years. That's the beauty of it.
So
People
you're
come
more
to us for those
flexible.
reasons. Yes.
Let's talk networking and liaisons. You talk about teachers or professors who teach at both Westchester Community College and other four-year schools. We all know that connections with administrations at different levels are invaluable in helping students achieve entry to other schools, or at least get a hard look from the counseling department or admissions department at four-year schools. What kinds of connections do you have with the counselors and admissions departments at four-year schools, and also on the other end with high school admissions, high school counseling departments?
Well, I can tell you from the college, we have a transfer coordinator. Her name is Robin Graff, and that's one of the things that she does. Oftentimes, she has career fairs where we invite numbers and numbers of colleges to come to our campus so that our students can meet one-on-one with their representatives. In fact, I think we do 2 a year. And so with those particular relationships that we have, we not only get students, the representatives here, but also the information for the students to be able to go and visit their campuses. We also do some visits to those schools. So you're right, networking is very key.
Well, I know good counselors often can pick up the phone and talk with the admissions person at, I don't know, Marymount or name any other school, SUNY Purchase, and say, what, I have a student I'd like you to take a look at, or who's motivated in this direction, and I think that they'd benefit from a one-on-one with you. Do you have that kind of connection?
Absolutely. Yeah, but that's one of the things I'm very proud about our counseling department, is that because we meet with students one-on-one, whatever issue comes up, it can be an issue where we may call up another school and maybe because we don't know what type of admissions or it's a specialized program, we can advocate for them and then ask questions and then maybe even say, this is somebody we might recommend for you to see and And again, those partnerships are very, very important.
And yet you're able to do that on an individual basis, and you have a huge student body.
Well, another connection is the fact that we're a SUNY school. So we're one of 64 campuses in the State University of New York system. So we have all of those options too. But you're right, it really is an individual basis. Every student comes to the college for a different reason. Ruben's seen them all, and he's counseled a lot of them, as his staff has. And I don't know that you get surprised too often at this point. You've seen all those combinations over the years, right?
Yeah, it's really one of our strengths. And if you talk to any student that comes to our campus, that's the thing they'll tell you. They love the personal approach. You really get to speak to people. And one of the things students always say to me, and you remember who I am. You know, sometimes at four-year institutions, you can get lost a little bit. At the two-year college, specifically ours, you really do that. And it's not only just the counselors, administrators, it's faculty. You know, I remember a class I took in college, and I was one of 300. I'm sure that professor didn't remember me. But students always tell me, yeah, I know the professor, and the professor knows me.
That's
and
pretty
they tend
amazing.
to do better in their classes.
Now, what about connections with the greater Westchester business community? Many of your students are looking for efforts to stay close to home. They're looking to go into the workplace.
Right.
Do you help place them, get internships and other
It's
training?
a big part of what we do, and again, that's through Ruben's office, but we have internships, we have this, the whole placement office, we have the transfer office, and there's a lot that we do, and we also have connections with the Business Council, the County Association, and we go to try to find out what the jobs are. That's where a lot of the new programs come from. Energy systems is a new academic program. Veterinary technology is a new academic program. We have to look around and see where the jobs are and sort of pick and choose in terms of introducing new majors.
Do you find students are self-motivated about careers they're interested in, or do you take a little stern hand in helping people choose something?
I think we have both. I mean, oftentimes we have students that come to us and they know exactly what they want to do. They know exactly where they want to go. They know what career it is. And then we have a good number of students that come in who haven't really made that decision or just feeling the waters and trying to figure out, you know, where do I belong? What's my fit? So it's difficult to say it's one or the other. I can tell you it's a range because sometimes we have a student that falls in the middle. They think they know what they want to do, and they've narrowed it down, but maybe they haven't really put their finger on it. So it really depends on the student that comes in. Again, we try to help them out, help them explore, have a little introspection, and hopefully that at some point during their stay at our college, we can help them, you know, make that decision.
How seriously do you take the challenges by the heads of companies like Google and eBay and others who have claimed that our schools are not preparing students technologically for the jobs that are available in this country?
Well, that's a big thing that we have to be aware of. We have to find out what the next thing is. It's one thing to know what just happened and what is happening, but we have to project, and that's one of the things that I think we do pretty well. We're always introducing new academic programs. We're always changing the curricula. We have to be on that pretty consistently because that's one of the big things that we do. We're not only training tomorrow's workforce, we're retraining today's workforce because a lot of people come back to us to re-career and to start second careers. We want them to go on to four-year schools. We want them to move up in the current jobs, and we want them to start their own careers.
Well, technologically, would you say that WCC is up there with the best of the four-year schools as far as providing the kind of technical training?
Well, that's a lot of competition, but I will say we're up to that challenge. We have, in terms
I'm throwing down the gauntlet.
we have spent millions of dollars in, for instance, new buildings and computer technology and various other engineering technologies. We just opened up the Gateway Center. That was a $40 million building,
Right.
and that is cutting edge. And we just opened up a new student center with a lot of
I'm going
resources
to challenge you. If I, living in Westchester, say, okay, I'm a returning student and I want to get technologically savvy. I've
Right.
been loping along, but now it's enough. I'm not going to be relying on my kids to show me how to do stuff.
Sure.
Where would I go? If I said, all right, I'm going to go to WCC, is that the go-to place in Westchester?
There's a couple of angles to come in at, but certainly we are good for that. And you can come in and take credit courses. You can come in and take continuing education courses. But really, if you're 50 and older, we have various courses geared right to those people, those who are returning to school. You have the option of taking credit classes. You have the option of going into our mainstream program, and those are non-credit classes. And then a level above that is the collegium, and those are concentrated classes for those who might be new retirees, those considering retirement, those as young as 50 years old, to do things like learn about technology, especially computer technology.
So if an adult says, I know I need something, is there a place that you could go and have a meeting with someone who could help direct you into the courses that would
Sure.
be appropriate?
Absolutely. I mean, many times I'll get students that will come in and ask that specific question. I have people that say, I don't know how to operate a computer. And we go as basic as that. In our continuing ed program, there are many different computer applications that we have. So if you want to learn Windows, if you want to learn Excel, if you want to learn how to do word processing, up until the points where if you want to know how to program. We have an excellent computer science program. We have a computer information systems, networking, cyber security. And so we have a lot of these programs. So it's it depends on where you're at.
So a person like me or any other adult could call the school and say, I'd like to meet with someone to help map out a course for me
Absolutely. And in
at
fact,
your department.
Sure. And we'll ask you those questions about what you know, and we'll try to figure out what's the best step, because again, it depends. I've had people that say, oh, I know nothing about computers. And in fact, they're a little more savvy than they say they are. And so we try to figure out what's the best approach and also what their needs are. Many of our community members not necessarily want to do a degree. They just want to learn how to operate, a computer, or they need to do something to enhance their job skills or whatever. And then we get that student that comes in and says, listen, I want to do a different career, or you know what, I'd love to really enter computer science or computer information systems because I want to challenge myself and do a different career.
Why do you think so many students opt for the for-profit colleges when we've got a resource like WCC here in Westchester?
Well, there's a lot of competition in Westchester. There are an awful lot of colleges in Westchester, and we feel that as the largest college in Westchester, a lot of students are directed toward us because of affordability, but also because of the resources. We can train students, educate students, but also we have an academic support center, so we give you that support. Not the for-profit institutions don't always do that. That's why we always say we're the best place to start. Start with the 2 years. Start at Westchester Community College. 2 years in, then you could make your decision. Go to a for-profit institution, go to a SUNY institution, go out of the area. But really, the best place to start, we recommend it really for everyone, is to come to an institution that knows how to deal with the first 2 years. And we can get people in, get them out the door fairly quickly, and we've had a pretty good success record.
Does WCC run any satellite courses in other locations besides Valhalla?
We have a lot going on in various areas, White Plains, Peekskill. You talked about technology. The largest area for digital arts, the largest facility for that is in Peekskill. Our center in Peekskill offers plenty of classes there, cutting-edge technology. And we're also in Ossining, we're in Mount Vernon, we're in Yonkers. In addition to those freestanding sites, those freestanding centers, we have classes at various high schools in New Rochelle, in various areas, Shrub Oak, you name it, we're out there.
You know, a moment ago we talked about, or before we turned on our cameras, we talked about a culinary arts center at WCC. Can you invite me to lunch?
I think we could bring.
I think we can set it up. Absolutely.
Student run, students prepare the food.
We've dined there, and we've done pretty well.
Is it ready for prime time?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's one of the most incredible things that we have. I remember when I first started working, they said, we have an instructional dining room. What is that all about? And basically, they brought me in, and, I'll be honest with you, there's sometimes I'll sneak down and go have a meal with them because they create incredible dishes. It's definitely the envy of the campus.
Okay, well, I'm going to take you up on that forced invitation.
Terrific.
Ruben, Pat, thanks so much for being my guest. I've learned lots about WCC, and I hope that our viewers have as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Alice Bloom. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.